Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, depending where you are and what time zone you're in. Welcome to this edition of The Bigger Game with Donna Murray-Brown from DMB Coaching and Consulting, previous president and CEO of the Michigan Nonprofit Association and vice president of the National Council of Nonprofits. Welcome, Donna.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting your perspective on the bigger game. The bigger game for me is that all about, playing the long haul, like taking a look at the bigger picture and not taking the short win, but the long term, playing for the long game, right? Going for the home run. What about you? What's it for you?
Yeah, when I hear the words "the bigger game," it makes me think of the bigger picture. Like, what else should we be thinking about? For me, it's moving out of my comfort zone. It's doing something that aligns with my soul's purpose. It's even sometimes feels a bit risky, but it's seeing something beyond me, bigger than me, and being open to seeing that.
So almost being comfortable, being uncomfortable.
Absolutely, for sure, being uncomfortable and being comfortable with that. I think when you are in a space of thinking about the bigger game, what also comes along with that seems a little bit scary and uncomfortable, what comes along with that are bigger opportunities, a broader vision, things that you can attract that you maybe never could before because you are playing perhaps a small game. But the big game, there's some great reward in that. Even in the being uncomfortable, there's great reward, and being able to be open, I think, to that comes from playing in a bigger game.
Yeah, like you said, purpose and joy, right?
Always
That
purpose and
purpose
joy,
and joy
always
about
love.
getting about your life and being able to step into that. Do you think it
Absolutely.
requires one to become uncomfortable in order to actually step into that space sometimes?
I absolutely do. I think, I'm curious as to whether or not it is required for all people to have that level of discomfort, right? I don't know if that's the case. I think some people are wired where they are open naturally to be able to accept what the universe or what the spirit or their soul is attracting. But I also think that there are people, a lot of people like me, who are so distracted by life that you often don't see clearly what the bigger picture is. And sometimes when you're often thrusted into something that feels really uncomfortable, it keeps you in a spot where you're able to see things a bit differently. You're maybe a bit more creative and you're a bit more open because you're forced to maybe sit still and remove the distractions. And
Yeah, it seems like you have. It seems like you've lived this for a bit. Sounds like.
I have.
Go ahead.
I think I'm in this journey right now, to be quite honest. I think it's been probably over the last few years that I've had a lot of distractions, and those distractions look like work that was meaningful work, but still wasn't that soul satisfying work. It's really good work though, so it was a bit distracting. And I had a situation where I had to really make a choice to follow my soul, my authentic self, that gnawing inside of me that said, I want you to do something different. And I have a different path for you, Donna, in this world, or to stay comfortable. And in that case, it meant staying in a job, which was wonderful, wonderful work. So why would you leave that? Well, for me, it felt like an existential choice I needed to make. How did I want to continue the balance of my life? I'm approaching 60 soon. And so I started really thinking about what my authentic life could look like. And that made me think about a decision that was, in my mind, life changing. And that was to put all bets on me. put all bets on what I wanted to do with my life and how I wanted to spend my time and how I wanted to utilize myself in my purpose. And that meant starting my own consulting business. Oh, that was
Tell us about
really
some of the
scary.
trial. That's fantastic. I think being uncomfortable has done wonders for you. You don't look a day past 40, so that's
Wow. I appreciate
that's
that.
fantastic.
I appreciate that. I'm going to hang
I
on to
know.
that for a while.
But and so that's fantastic. Tell us about some of the trials and tribulations along the journey, the considerations, concerns.
Yeah. I think, making the decision to step away from a traditional career and to kind of go out on my own, if you will, to do what I think I need to do, what my purpose is to support, in this case, nonprofit leaders. I love what the work that they do. And, you know, the trials were for me that self-confidence. I mean, it was good. It was a bit reassuring when I made the decision, like my soul was in complete alignment with the decision. And now I'm here. And what do you do next? And all the things that come with starting your own business. Am I qualified for this? Am I, my confidence was a little shaken because these are steps I've never taken. I'm trailblazing in my own life right now in real time. And so, it's really the trials are really the unknown and being okay with that. And then there's the resources, making sure that I have enough resources to be able to sustain myself. That's the scary part. And not knowing how things are going to pan out, but just believing in myself and believing in the work and believing that the alignment is perfect. It's a perfect alignment, and that all things will come as they should for me, and being okay with that. But that is an obstacle, and that is hard for me because stability is easy and comfortable, and that's what my whole life was built on: stability and being comfortable until now.
So you speak about the quandary, right? Do I swing for the fences, play the bigger game, and reach my full potential and experience the joy that you talked about at the opening of this podcast, right? Or do I not reach my potential, play it safe, take this, choose stability, like you said, and maybe never reach all my potential? And then what's my experience of myself when I do that?
Yeah,
It's such a stark choice.
it is. And here's the thing too. I think a lot of how the systems are set up in this world are based on stability. One of the things I was confronted with just recently was this idea of wanting to get a loan, get a loan. And that was something I could always do. And the first thing they asked me is about my income. And what was tricky about that is I didn't have a pay stub, right? So it's like, do you have a W-2? I don't have a W-2. In fact, I actually don't have a W-2 now. I started my business, and that was kind of the end of the conversation. And I always, I pride myself on having exceptional credit. So it wasn't about that, but it was just kind of this journey or this obstacle. I've decided to go on this path, but the world says you need a paycheck every 2 weeks. Give me your pay stub, and this will help you, unleash all these other things that are available to you. Well, I couldn't get a loan perhaps in that particular situation, but there's other avenues, and kind of learning about how can I get access to capital differently now that I'm in a business. But I was stunned at first, like, wow, I've never had a challenge because I was in this stable kind of environment and I was in the system that most people are in. And it was very easy to navigate. Now it's a little different.
So there's the path that the world decides that I can take.
Yep.
Then there's a path that I choose I can take.
That's right.
And they're both valid paths. It's just what do I say about it? That's the common question, right? What do I say about it in the moment?
Exactly. And recognizing that the way that I thought things should go, or the way I knew things should be, can be totally different, right? And being open and aware that those differences exist, and really being open to understanding that I don't have all the answers. And that's okay.
Yeah, I can either run from that conversation that I don't have all the answers, or I can run towards that I don't have all the answers.
That's all right.
And again, that's another choice. So
it is. You're right. Yeah, it's about choices, right?
I think you brought that to the forefront again. We always hear about that life is just a series of choices. And I think you've taken the time to actually help us expand on that a bit and kind of really appreciate, maybe just at a surface level even, but how deep that statement really goes. So that's fantastic.
Yeah.
What about so as you made this transition, I'm curious. You talked about feeling that comfortableness and then forging your own path. Uh, is there any trials and tribulations you came across in that journey? You mentioned one. Are there others where you were at this point where you were, obviously very successful, and yet had this yearning to do your own thing and kind of bring your expression to the world? What was share a little bit about that journey and where you are today in that conversation with yourself?
Yeah, so it was really interesting around making this shift, particularly after having a long career where people knew me with a certain title, they knew me in a certain body of work. And while the work that I'm doing now is related, it also represented a opportunity, I think, for me to create maybe an enhanced or improved narrative about the work that I do, because it was going to be authentically mine. It wasn't standing behind this mission statement of an organization or a vision statement of organization. It's my vision. It's my mission, right? And having to be bold and courageous to craft kind of what the work would be, that it would be my work. I would be able to stand behind it. It would be the ideas that I wanted to put forward, the strategies that I thought would work. And I think part of the barriers or challenges for me, one was confidence. The other was, how do I let people know what I do? And it was, beyond marketing and all the things and all the tools that we understand. Maybe perhaps if you've gone to business school or worked in a business, the fundamental pieces. But this was everything felt, and it is at this point, was about me and what I could do and my capacity. And so trying to figure out what my capacity is has continuously been a challenge for me. How much work can I do that doesn't overwhelm me, that I'm able to be my best self and be able to provide my clients with the best that I have to offer, and still trying to figure out how to juggle that while getting my name out there and making certain that I have future clients. And so how do I do that? And so the challenge has been kind of this ebb and flow of what it means to start and to be my own business. The other piece of it is also to letting go of the identity that I had before. I didn't recognize how closely I held my former identities, the titles I had. I didn't recognize that until I didn't have that. And there was a sense of grieving, I think, about what used to be, and then really being able to be excited about, in a sense, the unknown. And so those are continuous things that I deal with, I think. But mainly for me, it's been the exciting, thrilling part of doing my work and what I believe that I'm here on earth to be able to do. There's no other feeling that's better, I think, than that for me right now.
So yeah, so you really highlighted that entire journey, and if I would just take some, there was all great stuff, and just to take a few points out of that, right? You were talking about the past versus the future,
Yeah.
right? Like coming back to your uncomfortable conversation, right? How much of my life is focused on identities and my past, and my unwillingness to let go of it because it's so stable. Wrapping it back up to what you're talking about originally, the stability, right? That stability coming from my past and what I already know and what I've already identified as my identity based on the past again, right? And shifting all of that to now looking at the future and creating all of it newly, stepping into the future and working backwards. So that's phenomenal. Just to be able to grasp 10% of that and being able to do something with that, shifts the trajectory so much, right?
It does.
Because now I'm working from the future rather than working from the past.
Exactly.
transformational.
It is. I agree with you. I think that's the
So
word
tell
that
us,
describes.
you mentioned an interesting thing. You mentioned that you found this thing about worthiness through busyness,
Yeah.
and you were just talking about how much can I handle. I wonder if there is something you'd like to share around that, because I think that was
Yeah.
also a big point you made earlier.
Yeah, that was a profound discovery when I just really I'm really good about observing my own life. Maybe not so good about what I do next after I make the observations. That's a little slower on that end. But the observation that I made around this notion of busyness and worthiness was pretty profound because in this transition, as I mentioned, I had titles and very clear bodies of work that I was able to articulate to folks if they asked me what did I do. And that was shifting into my own narrative about my own work. And I think to compensate for just the idea of what does this all mean for me, I affiliated myself with lots of organizations, lots of work that I thought was related to what I was doing in my business. But what it could do, I think my mind was going towards how can I validate what I'm doing now? How can people see me for what I'm doing now? And might I need to do these things to feel worthy of their attention to actually work with me or to validate and suggest that the business and the work that I'm doing that it's all worthy, So that affiliation seemed to be what I decided to be the cure for kind of creating this worthiness of I'm worthy to have this business opportunity. I'm worthy to be able to work with these individuals because I'm doing X, Y, and Z. Look at all this work I'm doing. Look at all this affiliation I have. Look what I bring to bear, right? And so then I look around and I'm thinking, I don't have any capacity to even think, right? Any energy to bring my best self to the work that I'm doing. And I had to really examine that and take a step back and observe, why am I doing this? And the why was because without it, I didn't feel that I was worthy. And the busyness really was a big distraction. And I kept telling myself what I consider to be lies that I needed those things to validate or to create worthiness for myself. But that's not true.
So what did you create instead?
Well, I'm in the process of, in this case, my faith walk about what does God say about me, right? About my ability to say to myself that I am enough. And here's why. I have love in my heart. I have purpose. I'm aiming towards something that is greater than myself. I'm aiming to impact the world in a beautiful way. That's enough. I'm enough. If I don't do anything else, me being here is a chain reaction for positivity and goodness. And that's enough. And that's hard to say and hard to grasp. And I have to tell myself that daily. But that's my cure right now. It's really in the process of beyond affirmations, which I think are utterly important. It's the idea of really believing those affirmations to really be true. And that if I didn't do anything else, my faith tells me that I'm worthy right now without any actions, just being, I'm enough.
Yeah, that joy and peace that you talk about is very evident. So if you think you have to arrive somewhere, I'm here to tell you you've already arrived. So
Yeah.
that's
Thank you.
that's fantastic. This whole experience, this whole
I received
podcast
it.
has been you pretty much being just joy and peace. So it's very calming out here for us as the audience listening to what you have to say. the nuggets, of course, plus the way you've delivered it and your being itself, like you said, it's enough. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. Bring us home. Is there some way you're going to wrap this up for us? Summarize it for us and some takeaways that we get to consider as we go forward here?
Yeah, I think the one thing, the overarching kind of phrase I say to myself, and I really live by this, is, Donna, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. And I say that to myself because I strive for perfection, and I don't think there's anything wrong with striving for perfection until it gets in the way and it clouds your judgment and you lose self-confidence and it becomes a spiraling down of you not being who you are and being farther away rather than who you are. So taking the time to know right in this moment, no matter what you're facing, no matter what the obstacles are, that you are enough, that you have purpose, that there are distractions that are there. And if you know that they exist, quiet yourself so you can hear what your soul is saying to you. And when you receive that message, is nothing better than having the knowledge of who you are and what you are to do. And it's super simple, but it's also really scary. But the reward is beyond your imagination. We can make choices.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. We can make choices. I choose for beyond amazing. How about you? Beyond amazing? Do you choose that?
Yeah. I am love, care, and contribution on the planet. And so instead of what you said, that's I'm worthy in that space. If I do nothing else but just radiate that and receive that, it's enough. So yeah, I really got that. Thanks for that. How do we connect with you if you want to reach out and talk to you further?
Sure. I love to get emails and set up times to speak with folks, but you can reach out to me directly at DMB, which are my initials, Donna Murray Brown, but DMB at DonnaMurrayBrown.com.
And what's your website?
It is DonnaMurrayBrown.com.
Excellent. Thanks so much. Great having you on the show. Thanks for taking the time and sharing your wisdom with us. It's been priceless.
Thank you for having me. This was wonderful. Thank you so much.
All right.